Okay. Well, hello there. Happy Saturday. Thank you for joining me today. If you're joining me, it is our first of the month crash course for Lifepro. Every Saturday, I haven't done one in the afternoon for a while. So I'm hoping I caught maybe some of you at home on a long weekend, whether you're celebrating the festivities this weekend or not. There's lots of reasons to stay active. And I know many of you are looking at a vibration plate perhaps for the first time or returning to using your vibration plate today. So we're going to go over some basics of different types of movement, ways that anyone with any type of condition, regardless of where physically you may be starting at, there's always a way that you can use a machine. And I like to just help navigate through some of that with you today. There's usually about a 20-second delay from my end to seeing you on Lifepro's page. So where is my... I'm not seeing. If you are seeing me, the display looks different today. Why am I not showing up? There I am. Okay. So perfect. All right. So if you are joining me today, let me know where you are joining me from. And if you're a new vibration plate user, 9 times out of 10, you're going to overdo it starting out. Everyone does. A lot of people forget the premise of a vibration plate is something that reduces or condenses the amount of time that you have to spend doing traditional exercises, therapies, stretches. So a vibration plate brings more to the equation, and it's very easy because it just feels so good and so soothing when you are using it. It's not uncommon to go longer than you may have intended or take on more intensity than you may be ready for. So I'm going to get into some of that today as soon as I know somebody is seeing this on the other end. If someone is joining me, please, I invite you to comment and let me know you can see and hear me okay. Oh, I can see myself. I see that some of you are here, but my feed on this end looks a little bit different. If you want to make a comment or ask me a question towards the end of the live, make sure that you're on Lifepro's main public page on Facebook. If you're seeing this in one of the groups that I have shared, you will not, the comments won't come through on that end through a private group. But so make sure that you're on the main Lifepro page. I'm going to put my coffee down. Betsy, thank you. Ann Arbor, Michigan. I've been to Ann Arbor. I think I've told you my visit to Google story. Shayla just got off my vibration plate. Just got your vibration plate yesterday. Perfect timing. And Betsy says, oops. Oh, Debbie, it's okay. It's fine. You spelled it with a Y, which is 90% right. That's usually the typo that happens with my name. So today I'm joining you using a Rumblex Plus. The Rumblex Plus is part of the Rumblex lineup. And what that means is they are the combo or the 3, the 4D. Many of you struggle with what all of that means, especially if you're just in the research phase and thinking about purchasing a vibration plate. So I'm going to go over all of my coaching sessions are in the primary movement, which is oscillating. Some call it pivotal, some call it side alternating. It mimics how we walk across the floor. So it's no accident that the majority of Lifepro's plates have oscillating movement. Some have more. with the exception of the voice activated models. Those are kind of more like a slow controlled rebounder as far as how the movement feels. Different movements will move your body in different ways. And at the end of the day, there is no such thing as a bad vibration plate. But I guarantee you, for the most part, oscillating movement is more preferred. It feels more natural. It mimics the movement that our body makes. As I said, we walk across the floor, which triggers more naturally with our central nervous system. What a vibration plate does better than anything else is a few things. And many of you know its capacity for things like lymphatic drainage, increasing circulation, whatever benefit it is that you're seeking to use a vibration plate for. It will never be a setting or a program. Marketing in means to get your attention. There's a lot of association and publication on some of the studies out there. You might hear things like, 30 hertz is better for this, or 5 minutes is best for this. But very, very rarely are all of the parts of the equation being discussed. And anyone that's offering you comments like bad, harmful, better, seek to understand further. And if someone's making a claim, ask them to back it up. A lot of my time on Lifepro's pages is spent translating what other people have said. So if you're hearing claims elsewhere, I appreciate the trust and coming to vet that through me. But bring your sources forward, or better yet, ask the source to back up the claims that they're making. There has been, in research, benefits proven on all types of movement, but I do guarantee oscillating is more common for a few reasons, outside of it being more preferred as how it feels. It's quieter, it's less expensive to put on the shelf. There's all kinds of different reasons. You'll see this as the main movement. All of Lifepro's machines, up to the Turbo, Hovert, and above into the Rumblex, are oscillating movement. When you get into the smaller plates, plate movement type, and I'll expand just very briefly before we get into this. As you can see, I'm moving from side to side. To do that, in the housing of the machine, there's a motor and a belt and a tilting mechanism that moves it back and forth. If you have pulsation is a modern therapeutic version of vertical or lineal plates. They're not nearly the energy levels that the machines of research offer. They move straight up and down. So a different motor and a different set of mechanics would be applied for that movement. In the case of the Rumblex, where you also have lateral movement, so you've got all three, lateral is side to side, again, a third motor, third set of components to make it move this way. So you're never going to get a little itty bitty thing that weighs 15 pounds to have all three movements, because there's just not enough space under the hood. And three motors, components, they add to more weight. So for many of you that are looking at a little itty bitty machine, they're a great starting point, but machine size also comes into, how to complement what you plan on doing on it. So oscillating is going to be great for anything from therapeutic right up to fitness. But if you are planning on standing on your plate, doing fitness on your plate, I wouldn't go much smaller than the Waiver Mini. I know many of you are going to go, no, I'm using this one. And I'm not saying you can't get benefit, but the one part of the equation in oscillating that is under discussed everywhere is the intensity or the amplitude. And if you watched any of my videos, I know you're sick of hearing about it. But in oscillating, speed, frequency, the programs aside, the intensity is driven by foot position. So my feet are about hip width apart. If you go wider, you move more. If you bring your feet closer, you move less. And that's the control that you have depending on how you're feeling, the body type you're working with. Maybe it's a certain exercise. So you can always control the intensity, the amplitude. And that's how far, if you're standing or if you're sitting, if you're doing a squat, that's the distance that your body needs to react. That's how far the muscles are responding to whatever it is that you're doing as far as a position. So starting out, if you are dealing with chronic issues, if you are deconditioned, if you are recovering from anything, if you are waiting to hear from your doctor to see if it's even appropriate to use a machine, if you are okay being active and you're active now, there's generally no reason you can't use a vibration plate. If you are recovering from something or you have a medical concern, it still has been advised for you to be active, but generally speaking, there's going to be some modifications as advised by your doctor, perhaps your therapist. What I'm doing in a seated position, I'm sitting on a stool with my feet exposed on the plate. I've reduced the amount of body weight. So generally speaking, most people can use a plate in a seated position unless you've had some recent surgery or hardware below the knee, let's say. But it's also a good starting point to learn how to use all these controls, all the stuff that's coming out of my mouth. And if you're fearful at all, or you've had a poor experience in the past using a vibration plate, it's never, is the machine good or bad for me, or is it okay for me? It's more how you use it. So understanding how to modify use is going to help you adapt if things do change in the future, whether you're moving forward, need to take a step back due to a concern you've had. Control is all with you in your foot position. So I prefer a closer foot position, so less intense movement, and I bring the speed up a little bit. Everybody that talks online, when asked about what should I use for a speed for this, or I'm just starting, what speed should I use, what frequency, what program, the common answer is low or slow. It's a way you can use the machine, but in oscillating, the slow movements are very slow, very choppy. They're very destabilizing. And if you're dealing with hypermobility, inflammation, symptoms of any kind, slow, choppy movement isn't always the most comfortable way to incorporate using a plate. I think you will find, and if you haven't used a plate this way, please try my approach. I'm not saying you have to use it this way, but it's very important to me that you understand there's ways you can modify how you use this. And that's going to entail chucking the manual and forgetting everything that you've read online, because most of what comes out of my mouth contradicts that. Most of who I support are dealing with chronic issues. So it's important for me, because you never know. You might fall off your bike tomorrow. So bring those feet closer to the center. Bring the speed of your machine about a third of the way up. So my model of Rumblex has 60 speeds. So in manual mode, I'm bringing it up to about, I'm at speed 21 right now, speed 20. If you're on a mini or a waiver where those speeds are broken into more increments to let you have more variety to play with, the overall frequency is about the same, but the speeds are broken into different increments to give you more variety. But bring it up to speed 30 if you've got a machine with about 100 speeds. If you've got a machine with 120, bring it up to maybe 40. But bring those feet closer, and I think you'll feel as you bring the speed up, it's smoother, much more soothing and tolerable than wide and choppy. And a lot of people have this mentality, even the medical community, that we should stand wider because there's more going on, there's more action, but there's more impact. Some of you that have markers, foot markers or hand markers on your plate, the outward position is jog. If you can't jog or it hurts you to jog, you shouldn't have your feet at the max intensity. Bring them closer. So some variations in oscillating, how do I get the benefits? Think of a plate as a way to manage symptoms. You can use it for symptom management. You can also use it for fitness. But if you are able and physically doing fitness things, some of the soft benefits that are associated with using a vibration plate, there's what I refer to as perpetual benefits. Things like increased circulation, increased lymphatic fluid movement, relaxation. Movement on a vibration plate actually stimulates your central nervous system. It makes it more prepared or ready for whatever you're going to do to it next. And in this case, it's going to be the vibration plate. If you are limited to seating, I've done a number of sessions. I'm not going to spend a ton of time here today, but there's variations. You can get some upper body movement by adding the hands, locking those arms, and you'll feel the resonance of the movement start moving up your arms. If you want a little bit more intense and range of motion allows, you can add the elbows. You'll feel it moving directly up into the shoulder blades, the neck. If you're sensitive to head vibes, or you've had recent work, or you have deficiencies as far as your eyes, maybe you're dealing with some glaucoma, maybe you got some ear implants or some new teeth. You've got to use your own common sense. There's things that you'd like to do, or there's things that you should be doing eventually to get to the benefits long term perhaps you're trying to achieve. But if you are dealing with a deficiency or a concern, or you're just sensitive from the neck up, we have a tendency, especially as women, to guard and protect. And we fight the movement when it's in this area, especially when we're standing. I see a lot of people that are talking about vertigo and dizziness. There was a post the other day, a lady felt like throwing up. Well, if you're fighting it and resisting the movement, all you're doing is amplifying how strong it feels, and your head's thrashing from side to side versus the muscles and the joints absorbing and fluidly going through the movement naturally. When you're standing, if you're standing very tall, you can hear it in my voice. My legs are pretty much locked. If you bend the knees, you can feel, there's a little bit of resonance, but it tends to suppress kind of the neck, collarbone. And if you bend a little bit more, you'll feel it ever so slightly, the load, the movement the plate is creating, suppress into the muscles that are required to do the movement. Just like on the floor, this is easier than this. So the simple fine line of going from feel good, and I'm not saying anyone's not going to lose weight or increase bone density through what I refer to as passive use, which is standing, sitting, doing basic things. But if you can push yourself ever so slightly for your range of motion, start working on a good squat. A good squat is one of the best exercises that you can learn, not only to get some fitness gains, but you're also going to get more functional gains, more strength, more stability, more ability to get up and down out of that chair without your arms having to do all of the work all the time. So if you're terribly deconditioned, but you're able to bear weight, standing on the plate can be a little fearful. It's maybe something that you're not used to. Whether you're in good shape or not, I want to give everybody an opportunity to get used to this. Don't put a whole bunch of pressure on yourself about getting into a big routine or a program just yet. Get used to how it feels, what speeds you like. What happens if I shift this way a little bit, or I shift this way a little bit, or I lean forward a little bit. The more you feel comfortable standing and kind of playing with the angles, the positions, how deep you squat, the more you're going to learn to derive the resonance or the movement you're feeling to target different muscle groups. And this is where, for those of you that maybe can't, tolerate traditional exercise, or you're dealing with pain and fatigue, and you can't do the durations to get the muscles to a level of fatigue, you don't even need to move. You can just hold your position still. And when you personally feel that you're done, maybe you've got a bad knee or something else that's, pooping out before the muscles are, take a little bit of a break. Sometimes it's not about going the full 10 frickin' minutes. It's about, 30 seconds to a minute, and then maybe standing up. Or maybe you're starting seated for a minute or two to give yourself a little blood flow, a little circulation. Some of the forever benefits, the increase in circulation, the increase in lymphatic movement. I want you to be cautious if you're dealing with things like venous insufficiency, sluggish lymph, known blockages, you've had surgeries, or you're dealing with a condition. I know it feels great while you're using it, but it's so effective at moving lymph and boosting circulation, even if it doesn't feel like you're really working too hard. I want you to make sure that your body is able to handle the increase in flow and dissipate it. So sometimes when you first start out, I said early on in the session, if you were doing something like this for 10 minutes, you'd probably poop out and quit before you'd get to that 10-minute mark. But just standing here, or just sitting on it, maybe sit on the plate directly, or just doing something like this for 10 minutes, doesn't really seem like you're doing a whole lot. And then later on, I get these messages, oh, Debbie, I'm all swollen. I'm way more swollen. The machine made me worse than when I started, or my pain is worse, or my fatigue is worse. If you've overdone it on a vibration plate, you've over-exercised. Nothing more, nothing freaky or scared. But if you are in a place of chronic illness and you're not able to over-exercise in other areas, you tend to forget what over-exercise feels. You get muscle soreness. You get joint pain sometimes. You may have an increase in swelling short term because your body doesn't know what to do with all this fluid and this extra activity. So a couple of newbie things to be aware of. If you are a new user or a returning user, and this isn't an everybody thing, but it is absolutely very common, itchiness, pins and needles. I haven't talked about newbie stuff in a few sessions, so I thought we'd talk about this today. That's an increase in circulation and lymphatic fluid. It tends to dissipate with regular use after a week or two for most people. If it is absolutely severe, driving you crazy, you feel like you're having an allergic reaction, you're breaking out in hives, you may have overdone it. That could be equation A. Very common. It's taken on more intensity than you need and time and or time. But there is a condition out there referred to as MCAS, mast cell activation syndrome. And it's not a vibration plate thing, but because a vibration plate accelerates the effects of what you would normally do on the floor, with MCAS, your body, through movement, through activity, increased activity, new activity, pre-releases histamines. It's just the way that this condition affects people. And that's what you're feeling as a heightened sensation on the plate. So if you are dealing with MCAS, it's ultra key to keep your sessions short and low intensity and build up tolerance. Don't overdo it and think it's a good thing. If this is a reaction that you're having and you've never heard of MCAS, if it's something that consistently happens after you've reduced the time and the intensity, you may want to have a further discussion with your doctor. It could just be a vibration plate to someone like myself that has dealt with so many medical conditions and so many different people over the 20 years I've been doing this. To me, it's very often a diagnostic tool. It shows me things and it presents things on your body that maybe, long duration and exercise, or you're unable to do long durations in exercise, it would present there too, but it's easy to go longer on a vibration plate without realizing because it does make things a little bit easier. If you're feeling ill, nauseous, dizzy, that, as I said earlier, could be partly standing too tall, but it can also be a reaction to doing too much, moving too much lymph circulation. Maybe you're dealing with toxicity. Maybe you're dealing with blood or heart conditions where you fatigue easily. Sometimes overexercise presents as dizziness, vertigo, nausea. We've all seen people puke after overexercising at some of these, the Biggest Loser camps and some of those shows back in the day. Sore joints and muscles, as I already mentioned, that's a common thing with exercise, but because a vibration plate has capacity to do a little bit of the recovery while you're doing the exercises, you shouldn't be super, super sore the next day in the joints or the muscles. But if you are, it's probably a sign that you've just taken on a little bit more than you're ready for. Sometimes you're doing too much in complement with other things. So for my athletes, I have sometimes people that'll, just stand on it and they can't believe they're sore the next day because they're hitting the gym 5 days a week. It is a new activity. And if you are doing other activities, you want to make sure that in complement, when you're combining activities or other therapies, classes, whatever it is, that you can overdo it by doing too many different things as well. So ease into it for that reason as well. An increase in urination, taking a poop. It's not uncommon if things are improving, we're ramping up detoxification, to see an increase or a decrease in the amount of pee or poop, depending on what the problem is. So constipation is a common reason a lot of my pediatrics users use it and sit on it. But don't be surprised if it's a problem for you if you see some improvements in that one as you start using regularly. And the last thing is I kind of alluded to as well when you're a newbie. Sometimes maybe you're not even realizing you're dealing with issues, but maybe you see an increase in swelling, or swelling presents in a place that you didn't have it before, or there's a decrease in areas. When you first start out, it's pretty miraculous to see how much you can improve and manage those symptoms. But sometimes when we get a little bit of progress, especially we as women, we'll do a little bit more because it must be better. And it's not, you can't make up for the last 20, 30 years, especially if you're dealing with anything compromised along the way. As I said, a plate is a great way to manage symptoms and get fit. What you do for fitness, if the goal is long-term, there's long-term benefits, the weight loss, the bone density, those type of things I refer to as longer benefit. Consistent use is absolutely key. Bone density, if it's not a setting, it's not a program, but the consistent weight bearing exercises, standing, squatting, adding a weight vest. If you are just going through the motions and doing the basics, your body's going to build the muscle and the bones that you need to perform the activities that you're performing. If you're stressing things out a little bit, if you're pushing yourself, putting a little bit more effort forth, the muscles and the bones are going to have to respond to support the activity you're demanding them to do. So I don't want to say that you can't see big weight loss and bone density just by standing, because many do, and that's the consistency piece. But functional exercises, working with what you are able to do or progressing towards what you would like to do by being consistent is really where I see the big results long-term on the weight loss, the bone density. For those of you that are using it regularly for symptom management is a little bit different. It gets a little bit sticky when you're asking me, well, how long can I use it in a day? There's all these things in the books and the manuals and what you see online. But my immediate question back is, well, what are you using it for? If it's for feel good, use it as often as you want. When you've got pain, when you've got swelling, when your body tells me it needs some loving. But keep it brief, 1, 2, maybe 3 minutes, just to get things moving, to improve the balance, the stability, maybe before you go do other things or after you're doing other things as a recovery. And yes, use it as your body requires. And what you'll find over time, you're not going to need to use it as often because your body's adapting to it. For the fitness, consistency is still key, but I don't want you thinking just standing there and going longer and longer and longer and longer is the way to get results. I know many of you are going to argue because you've had results that way, but I don't want to disappoint people by saying, oh, you can just stand here for 5-10 minutes and be up to a half hour by Friday and think that's the way to go. Functional exercises are going to take you much further. They're going to give you better results, not just on the weight loss and the bone density, but they're going to address more specifically the toning, the muscle definition. They're going to be, better for the joints, the mobility, the range of motion, all of those things. But keep it simple. I don't want you thinking you need 15, 20 big exercises. A good squat, a push-up or some hand weights when you're ready to get to upper body. Really 3-4 solid exercises that you are doing regularly make a great path to carve your way to those fitness benefits. The symptom management, the feel-good stuff is going to be a little bit more dependent on what you're trying to address. So targeting muscle groups where maybe you have areas of concern, pain, whatever it may be. I'm going to tone back a little bit. We've covered some newbie stuff today, new things that you tend to experience. The things on that list I want to remind for those of you that may be returning to using your vibration plate. It's spring, it's tank top season. We're all being a little bit more mindful. You can sometimes experience those newbie things again if you've taken an extended break from using your plate, if you haven't been so consistent in using it. So just be mindful if some of those things surface again. I would love to hear more about you guys versus listening to myself talk. So let me come take a look-see and see who is here, and let's get into some of the Q&A. Okay. And I'm blinding myself a little bit here, so I'm going to kill this one. So I know my Betsy is here. Hello, Betsy. So nice to see you. Shayla is here. Thank you for joining me, Shayla. Okay, so Shayla, who just got her vibration plate, I think you are telling me, can I give you some more standing stuff? You're dealing with diabetes and water retention. If you've just started out, just standing is where you should be. I don't want you taking on a whole lot yet. I support a lot of diabetics. 1 in 9 are dealing with this in some capacity. But I think one of the big advantages when you're dealing with diabetes, if you haven't been terribly active in the past, it's a great way not only to get some low impact activity, but things like neuropathy, if you are dealing with, symptoms already. This is where I kind of talked about, some of the spot treatment stuff. Depending on where you're at physically, whether you're standing, whether you're sitting, it's all good. When you move, lymph moves. So use it often starting out. As far as more standing stuff, that doesn't tell me what the goals are. So it's not there isn't a set of standing poses for diabetes. It depends on you. So are you looking to lose weight and get stronger? Work on the squats. If you're just looking at, boosting circulation, starting to learn this thing, just standing is more than sufficient. And I would say, a couple times a day in smaller sessions, or even 3 times a day if your schedule allows, versus one big long session. I think, for blood sugar levels and lots of different things, you're going to find that's more beneficial. It could also be ideal if you are doing other therapies. So a minute or two before you head out the door, boost the energy, the mobility, the energy levels, things like that. I hope that makes sense. If Shayla, what I would invite you to do is go to Lifepro's YouTube channel, type my name, Debby, and diabetes, and you're going to see probably 8 to 10 specific sessions that I've done on diabetes. That might give you a little bit more insight specifically on that condition. Lots out there that you can surf through. What do you recommend for a good vibration level weight loss and getting stronger? Sheila, did you watch the session today? I get a little frustrated repeating myself. I do not offer, there is no number. And so you've gone from diabetes to weight loss and getting stronger. The squat is still going to address that. As far as a starting point, I recommend in manual mode, starting out in a little bit of a faster speed with closer feet. That's how I started the session. I will drop a very brief 6-minute crash course on getting started with your plate, regardless of which model you are using. But I will not offer a cookie cutter answer, because you're completely different than, the 250 other diabetics that I might be dealing with later this week. So it really is an individual thing. When you're asking questions like what levels and what's good for weight loss, forgive me if I'm wrong, but you're probably not coming from a place of regular activity now, or you're not an exercise guru or exercise per purpose. So sometimes we struggle just to understand, what am I supposed to do? And I just want to stress, it doesn't have to be a whole big program. 2 to 3 very good exercises, doing them consistently is going to give you a lot more benefit on all of those things going. So whether it's the diabetes, the weight loss, getting stronger, you don't need to do different exercises to accomplish those benefits. You're going to accomplish them just with the consistency and not just standing there and going through the motions. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, certainly search up on YouTube, whether it's diabetes or any medical condition. Sometimes you're dealing with more than one thing. So there probably isn't a medical condition I haven't done at least 1, if not 2, 3 sessions on. So if you're looking for something a little bit more specific, take a look on YouTube. Depending on what model you have, the levels, you said you're on level 14. It really depends. Level 14 is going to feel different on a Rumblex than it is on a Waiver, because they're different models. But better than starting at level 1. So I commend you for bringing it up a little bit, but bring the feet a little bit closer, something more natural to that hip width apart, and let's start improving function so we can progress to the squats and things like that as well. Terry says she just got a plate using for osteoporosis. Any suggestions? Really depends on you and where you're at physically with osteoporosis. None of those things scare me. I've been doing this long enough. I want to give you hope, Terry. I've seen osteoporosis be reversed to osteopenia, be reversed completely to you don't have any bone density issues at all. And actually they're getting stronger. So consistency really is the key with bone density. Depending on if there's areas of the body where it's more concerning than others, usually the smaller bones, the spine, sometimes you see different numbers than maybe what you're seeing at the hip or in the bigger, depending on what you had tested. But weight bearing is the key for bone density. It's not a setting. It's not how long you go. It's bearing your mass and using this thing regularly. If you're willing to push yourself a little bit and do some squats, maybe add some mass to your frame, do different things to challenge the body further, it's going to return with stronger bones and more muscles to complement what you're requiring it to do. If you're just going through the motions, you're just going to work with bare minimum gains. I hope that makes sense. I have also done a ton of sessions on osteoporosis, bone density. The one pretext to bone density, osteoporosis, Terry, is your balance and mobility. If it is very, very poor, if there's more of a, we're more about risk of falling, bone density being the longer term benefit. Short term, I typically like focusing on balance, stability, flexibility, range of motion to reduce those falls and potentials of breaks as well. So those are things, just if that's where you're at. Osteoporosis can have a spectrum like this, but if you're very, very frail, the balance isn't there, starting seated is a great way to start working the legs, getting a feel for it, and progress from there if that's a better starting point for you. I hope that makes sense. I hope I addressed your questions as well, Shayla. Terry says, got diagnosed. I'm active with Pilates and pickleball. Oh, so you're not some little old lady, but and spine. So, okay, hips and spine. Things like, cat cow, standing on it and doing a cat cow. Anything, the more you kind of learn to play around and send the stimulation to those areas. It's not always the primary goal being the bone density. That's the consistent use. But if you're dealing with any pain or tightness in those areas, sometimes our body tends to compensate where there's deficiencies. The vibration can also be an ultra soothing way to target any symptoms that you may be experiencing. And it's an awesome warm up for Pilates and pickleball. And it's also awesome for recovery. So a lot of my die-hard Pilates, or if you're faithful to other disciplines, just adding a vibration plate simply as a pre and post complement can sometimes make all the difference in what those benefits look like long term. And where the Pilates will come in and benefit you on the vibration plate is the breathing. The encompassing the breathing exercises, the posture, the proprioception, all of that kind of stuff. Those type of disciplines help you navigate playing and experimenting in this space. A vibration plate is simply an environment. And whatever you do in this environment, whether it's squats, I like to keep it simple because most people aren't coming from a disciplined background. But if you're a yogi or you're into Pilates and you've got other disciplines, do some of the poses you do in class on the machine. It makes them more challenging. It makes them more effective. The proprioception, the breathing, all those things are just challenged in different ways. If your balance is really, really good, Terry, a very easy way to boost the balance, and I do this with a lot of my seniors that actually have really poor balance and stability, because it's hard for me to do balance positions when I'm dealing with, if someone's dealing with like severe fall of risk of falling, I'm not going to do like one-legged moves and put them at further risk of falling. We'll get to that. But a really simple way when you're standing is to just close the eyes for like 2 to 3 seconds while you're standing or doing some of your poses. Once you get comfortable, it's a great way to balance, boost the balance. That proprioception kicks in, and when you're not using your sight as your primary, it's oh my God, it's one of the sensations that we rely on more heavily than we realize until we take it out of the equation. So as far as our senses, we're very, very reliant on sight. So when you take that out of the equation, I think you'll find how fun and challenging it is just tweaking some of the stuff that you might already be doing. You are only limited by your imagination and your range of motion. So for Shayla and Terry, I don't think I've met with you. Betsy definitely knows who I am, and some of you that have had sessions with me in the past. Never hesitate to reach out. There's no such thing as a dumb question. But sometimes, there's so much information online about these, and I know I read this somewhere, or I saw that somewhere. My approach is very different to how many people are suggesting you use the plate. But again, it's coming from a place of clinical experience more than consumer sales, if that makes sense. So providing support to people after they've got the machine in their living room is kind of where I specialize. So regardless of which model you may have selected or what you're planning on using it for, consistency is absolutely the key. And as you become just a little bit more confident, I guess the word is, in using it, I encourage you to experiment with other positions, other settings, and just remember you're always in control. If you're using an element of oscillating movement, whether it's a combination movement or you're using it on its own, the feet wide or the feet close is how you change that experience. And try getting out of those slow, choppy rebounder speeds. 9 times out of 10, it's not comfortable for those inflamed joints, the swelling, the things that we sometimes experience as symptoms. And as you improve, increase on those durations or how often you're using it. And if you have overdone it, which, like I say, many do, it doesn't mean that you've done any permanent damage. There's this mentality out there that it's not shockwave therapy. If it was a pill, you'd give it 30 days. So I'm asking you to give it 30 days. If you've got a plate now and it's in the box, get it out of the box. You're not going to you're not going to get rid of the fear and gain any experience by looking at it. So get it out of the box, even if you're just using it seated, and give it an honest chance. Use it in some way, shape, or form daily if possible. And just see how you feel after a week, after 2, after 3. And I think if you find, if you're using it regularly and experimenting for the first month, there is absolutely no way on earth that you would ever consider returning it. But a lot of times we do that out of fear, and we've left it too long, and we just haven't given it the opportunity to see how our body would assimilate to it. Barbara's asking about plantar fasciitis and ankle stability. If you're dealing with wrapped up issues right now, seated is absolutely a really great way to not only treat that, but it's also, there's probably some exercises or stretches you're supposed to be doing right now. A plate can be a means to bring those type of exercises forward and reduce the time, but also increase the effectiveness. Specifically for feet things, I use lots and lots of pool noodles. This is one, it's very well abused. I've cut it the length of my machine, and I've used the other half and cut it lengthways to have a couple of different variations. There's smaller sizes. But one of the big things with plantar fasciitis is, those calf stretches you're doing or supposed to be doing. But sometimes they hurt like hell. So especially with plantar fasciitis, bring those feet closer. You don't want a lot of intensity. Keep the movement minimal, soothing, and actually crank that speed up. So bring it up to a mid speed, but really close feet. And maybe you're just wedging the pull noodle under the front of the feet. Maybe you're just putting the feet close to get a little bit of lymph and circulation moving and relax those muscles. Maybe you're able to do some foot pumps or some exercises that you're supposed to be doing now. But calf stretching is a very common remedy for that. But sometimes it's so damn tight and painful, it's hard to do it on your own. So I use the pull noodle to just slightly lift the balls of the feet, keeping the heels in contact. You can also, if the pain is severe at the back where that plantar muscle, where it's attached to the heel, you've got to experiment, but you might find it actually more comfortable or targeting the area better by placing the heel on the pool noodle, the balls of the feet on the plate. You can see that a little bit better in the mirror. But using a pool noodle, unlike a wedge or a block or a traditional roller, they're a little softer, and they just help the vibration get up, into the arch of the foot, some of the areas where maybe your foot can't benefit by being directly flat on the plate. I prefer a faster speed and oscillating movement. If you have a plate with pulsation, you may find that pulsation is not a vertical or lineal motion like it used to be. Many market it that way, but it's more of a therapeutic movement nowadays. So if you do have a Rumblex or a turbo model, you can try pulsation, but it's only going to get you so far. I think you'll long-term have more benefit with plantar fasciitis, having the ability to change things on the fly, and it's more naturally your gait pattern. With plantar fasciitis, if you experience relief, please remember that it's maybe not just fixed right away. Give your body time. If you're finding symptoms are returning, this is an example of something you might want to do 2-3 times as the pain sets in, or maybe you've got to go somewhere, Barbara, and you need your feet. So, maybe a couple minutes before you head out the door. If you find relief, which very commonly you will with consistent use, please don't stop doing these things. Maybe keep those calf stretches or something a little specific going regularly so you don't find yourself in that situation again. But try that out and feel free to check back with me on that, Barbara. You as well, Shayla, if you're having trouble finding any of the videos on YouTube that I mentioned, if anything, you're probably going to find more than you want. But look for, I've done a couple recent sessions this year. And it really depends on where you're physically starting. And Terry, same for you with osteo. There's a really good blog article on Lifepro's site. I'll drop that reference, and it's got some links to studies, but the consistency in all the vibration plate studies that have been out there, there isn't a frequency or a set of moves that is better. That's misleading. That's marketing. What is consistent between these studies is weight bearing activity and consistent use. So that really is the key, regardless of what plate you're moving or you're using. All of the benefits can be accomplished. It's a matter of, just understanding what's appropriate for where you are as a starting and progression point. So I hope that makes sense. I will also drop, I have some of my more popular or more recommended sessions with Lifepro that I will drop in here. And that one includes my short 6-minute starting video for you that don't necessarily want to listen to this whole ramble. And I'm typically here 4 to 5 times a month doing different things with Lifepro. It is April, and Roseanne was live earlier today. It is getting into the season of fitness, so she's got some great workouts coming up this month. Don't forget about the new Wellness Circle. It is a subscription page that you can get more exclusive workouts and video content. You can register through Lifepro to obtain. That's a new special service that they're offering. But we are still here anywhere from about 12 to 15 times a month. So if you are looking for specific sessions, Facebook, once we've done a live, they're here for about 30 days. Facebook's policy has changed, and once we've done a live, it's only here for 30 days, and then they start migrating over to YouTube. So if there's a session specifically here in the VIP group or Lifepro's main page that you can't find a topic on, be sure to check out Lifepro's YouTube channel. That's where you're going to find the majority of sessions. And as I said, search my name, Debby with a Y, and any condition, and you'll probably see I've done a couple of sessions on it. If you have a question later after the live today, something comes to mind, or I wasn't clear in my answer, or perhaps you're watching this on a recorded basis, please tag me at Debby with a Y. That way, for sure, I'll get a notification on my end, and it doesn't get lost in the volume of Facebook traffic that I get. I want to thank each of you guys for joining me on Easter weekend, whether you're celebrating or not. I hope you enjoy what hopefully is the start of spring. We got a whole bunch of snow here again the other day, but the sun is out and things are starting to melt. So hopefully I'll be digging in the dirt soon. I will be looking forward to doing some what I refer to as my annual golf and gardening sessions. So you can look forward to a couple of those probably this month. Seasonally, there's lots of activities some of us are getting back into, and your plate is a great way to prep those muscles that have maybe been inactive in certain ways and reduce probably some injury and soreness more than you need to be experiencing. So I look forward to seeing you guys again very soon, and hope you have a great rest of your long weekend. Thanks for joining me so much, guys. Have a great weekend. Thanks, Barbara. Thanks, Terry. Thanks, Shayla. Thank Betsy. And oh, there's Beth here too. Thank you, Beth. Hello. You can see and hear me. Thanks for that sound check. I'll talk to you guys very soon. Have a great weekend.